All right, so this is probably a minute or two early, but we're going to get started anyway because I want to get going on this. So we've been working on side control, so if you wouldn't mind head towards... Actually, let's go... we're going to do these from a couple of different angles. So if you guys have this one. So, and if you could scoot that just a little bit. Perfect. All right. So we're still working on our side control attacks. So we're in our regular side control position here. So these attacks do have to are kind of they're not kind of they are. It depends on where your partner's hands are. So this is not something you can just kind of grab right away. Their hands have to be in a specific position. If they are in the position, everything is fine and dandy. It's basically if their hands are not in this position to start with, you may be able to work your way into it. But typically, I would recommend another set of attacks just because if you try it to me it like sets off alarm bells when people start to try to move things around to set up an attack. I like trying to set up attacks around what's given to me versus trying to force something. Now, that's not to say that I don't try to set things up, because I 100% do, but when you start to try to, especially with arm attacks, the minute you start trying to manipulate somebody's arms, usually alarm bells are going off. They're like, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. So do keep in mind when we set up these attacks. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to attack this near side arm, meaning the arm that's closest to me. So from here, I have my hand underneath Chelsea's head here. I'm in my good solid side control position. My knees are nice and wide. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch my hip towards Chelsea's head. At the same time, my hand that's underneath her head here is going to draw back, and I'm going to find the near side elbow. So from here, I switch my hip, my hand comes out, and I pull my hand up and pull my hand all the way up to her elbow here, and I'm cupping onto her elbow. Now, there's a couple of bones here on the arm, a couple of bones on either side of the elbow. This is what I'm trying to grip. This is called the lateral epicondyle for the ulnar lateral epicondyle, I believe, and this is the radial epicondyle, I believe. So what I'm trying to do, it doesn't matter what the names of them are. I'm trying to grab the bones with my thumb and my middle finger here. So I'm cupping her. I'm grabbing a hold of those two bones. From here, my outside knee, I'm going to step right over her face, and I want to dig my heel into her shoulder here. So I step over her head, and now I'm going to dig my heel into where her shoulder meets her neck. From here, I'm going to pinch my elbow, and I'm going to bridge my hips into her arm. So I bridge my hips into her arm, and I get my tap. So this is a very, not necessarily sneaky arm bar, but it can be really deep. And if you force your hips forward really hard, you may pop your partner's elbow. So when you do this, make sure you do it somewhat slowly and in control when you're drilling it. If you're in a tournament, swing away. Here, regular side control position, knees are nice and wide. I switch my hip. My hand comes out from behind her head. I'm finding that tricep. Finding that elbow, those two bones. Pinch the epicondyles. Pinching my elbow to my side here. All I'm trying to do is just trap her elbow, trap her hand when I pinch my elbow here. Outside foot steps over here, and then I drag my heel in to where her neck meets her shoulder. Pinching my elbow nice and tight. I bridge my hips forward and arch my back, and I get my tap. Let's do it again from a different angle. Let's go head towards the camera, please. All right, so from here, regular side control position, I switch my hip, bring my hand out, finding that elbow, pinching her wrist in. Outside foot steps over the head here, and I drag my heel in to where her neck meets her shoulders. From here, elbow is pinched. I drive my hips forward and arch my back, and I get my tap. So one last time. From here, switch my hip, pinch, step, drive, and I get my finish. Let's give it a shot. Let me walk you through it.
No, I think I'm okay.
Okay, go ahead.
That, yeah.
One more time, or a couple more times. Do it once this way, and twice on the other side, or twice on the facing mirror, facing the camera. Good.
The epicondyle? Is that what it's called? Step over. Big words.
Good. So if you guys notice, that one, when she stepped over, she lifted her hips, like almost stepping over. The problem with lifting your hips is it brings your center of gravity up, and if I push a little bit, you may fall, which makes it easier for me to get my elbow out. So when you step over the head, the idea is I don't want to lift my hips up too high. It's almost like I'm just trying to pass my foot across the person's face. Let's do it one more time. That's better. Much better. Very good. So one last thing on this. You can lean here, meaning when she has to pass her foot over my face, she can absolutely lean here. The thing is, when you do this, the farther you lean your body this way, the farther out you want this elbow. Because now if I try to roll this way, she can use this elbow to post. The problem is that if she keeps her elbow tight and she leans her head heavy over into the other side, now I can just roll and bring her with me. So it's a fine line. It's like I said, it's a fundamental attack, but the details are important on this one. One, you want to, when you step over, you don't want your hips to lift. You don't want your hips to lift too high up. Your hips lift too high, so go ahead and go for your step over and really try to post up. See, here I can push. Number two, if she leaning like this is not a problem. The problem is that if her elbow on this side stays tucked, if she leans heavy and goes for the step, I can roll her. So it's finding that balance. We don't want to be up too high. We don't want to lean too far over. We can lean a little bit farther over, but remember our elbow has to be out. If we have the elbow nice and tight, that means the hips have to be higher to step over the head, because she can't do it from right here. If she just tries to step her foot over my head here, it's going to be a little difficult, and her hips don't get behind my elbow as much. So go ahead and do that again. If she steps over here, she goes for her finish. There's no pressure on my elbow because she hasn't gotten her hips behind my elbow. So it's like it's a fine balance between bringing those hips nice and tight over to the elbow, but also at the same time not leaning the body too far this way, not getting the hips up too high. So there's a lot of small details in there, but once again, very effective attack, very fundamental, but works really, really well. So that's your first attack. So our second attack, we're going to sit in the same position, but this time I'm going to attack the far side arm. Now, this is the one that I was talking about earlier, that I alluded to earlier, where the hand positioning does matter. So with this one, what we're going to have Chelsea do is our partner's hand is going to be on the opposite side of my head. Here, perfect. So this right here is on this side versus being on this side. With the hand on the outside here, I bring my hand underneath her elbow or underneath her tricep here. From here, I'm going to switch my hip, and now I'll show you guys in a different position here. I switch my hip, and now I'm going to step over the head again, but this time as I'm stepping the head over, I'm bringing this arm up. So I'm bringing this arm up, and I step the head over. Step the foot over. Now, there's a couple of different ways to finish. From here, I may be able to, depending on where my arm is, I may be able to just pull up and get my tap. On occasion, I sometimes need to twist the arm. So from here, with my arm still keeping her arm trapped here, I bring my hand in and I find the elbow. Now, once I find the elbow, I cup it and I'm going to peel it all the way over. I want to turn it over as far as it'll go here. Now I can connect my second hand and I pull in and I get my tap. So there's a couple of different ways to finish this and a couple of different ways to set this up. But we're going to make it the easiest for the time being. So from right here, her hand is on the opposite side. So I have my arm lock set up right away. So I switch my hip. I then grab a hold and step over, and I go for my finish. So I'm pulling this out and over, and I get my tap. If I pull as far as I can here and I can't quite finish it, their hand is turned over or whatever, I can't finish my arm lock. I grab a hold of the elbow, find the elbow here, and I turn it all the way over. I'm just basically twisting the elbow until I can't twist it anymore. This is not my attempt at tapping her. This is my attempt at just exposing her elbow. So I'm turning it all the way over here. Once I have the arm turned over, my second hand comes over the top of my first, and now I pull my hands towards my chest, and I get my tap. Once you turn this arm over, the elbow is very exposed, and the person on bottom, they know something, that they're in a lot of trouble. So the whole idea here is just cup and then finish. You okay?
Yeah. Did you rush out from a different angle?
Let's just do one more time from a different angle here. Let's go this angle. So, once again, from right here, I switch my hip and find my partner's elbow. Sorry. Switch my hip, 1, step over, 2, connect my hands, 3, turn. I get my tap. If I can't get my finish here, my free hand comes over the top. I'm going to get my leg out of the way. My free hand comes over the top. I turn the hand over as far as it'll go, and I go for my finish. Give it a shot.
Sounds good.
Do you want me? Which side do you want me on?
Let's do this the other side.
Okay.
Please. Okay, just switch your hip. Will you walk me through this, please?
Yeah. So this hand's gonna come. You're gonna pull my elbow up. At the same time, you're stepping over my head. Good.
And then I couldn't see how you were locking your hands here.
Gable grip, palm to palm. Palm to palm, gable grip.
Oh.
Right there. Yep.
Okay.
Step my foot over. Step your foot over. Sorry. There you go. And pull. Good. Or if you don't finish me there, you grab a hold. Yep. Turn it all the way over. So you're just turning it. Pull your elbow towards you. There you go. Good. Second hand comes over the top of the first. Pull towards you. Good.
And when you say over the top of the first, do you mean like this?
Perfect.
Okay. Switch my hips. Grabbing the elbow and stepping over. Gable grip, actually.
So you're not getting the finish. Cup. Turn. As far as it'll go. Good. Second hand comes over the top of the first. Pull towards you. Good. Nice. Very good. So the nice thing about these attacks is they actually work really well together. There we go. So these attacks actually work really well together. When I switch my hip, if her elbow is in my hip here and her hand is on the outside of my head, outside. Perfect. So from right here, I switch my hip. Now look, I have the elbow on this side and I have the arm on this side. I step over. I have attack number 1. I have attack number 2. I have twisting all the way over, attack number 3. So depending on their arm placement, you have a series of a couple attacks there that work really well, that flow really well together. Drill. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to contact us. You can email, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of those. You are welcome to contact, and any questions that you may have, more than happy to answer. Yeah.
We are here Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. to teach Jiu-Jitsu, and then on Fridays at 2 p.m. for Jiu-Jitsu. Tuesdays, Thursdays are no gi, and Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday are gi. And I teach yoga at noon on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday, all Pacific Daylight Time. You guys can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Heart and Soul BJJ. And we really, really are super happy and feel very blessed to be able to be here and to offer you guys these classes. We know this is a very unique opportunity and a very unique time in our history of the world. So because we're doing this all for free, the best way to support us, if you liked this video, you like this stream, please like, follow, subscribe. We are streaming both live on YouTube and Twitch, so we know that those means different things on different platforms. But we really appreciate your support, and we would really appreciate you guys being here.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Finish.